Welcome to the show, ladies and gentlemen. What a week it's been. Jeffrey Epstein's former lawyer, Alan Dershowitz, is demanding forced vaccination, stating we have no right not to be vaccinated. This is complete tyranny. These are psychopathic murderers we're dealing with here. Also, Greta Thunberg has become an authority on COVID-19. We have Melbourne protesters being hit with fines 5 days after the event. They're using any measures necessary to enforce these preposterous restrictions, denying rights and liberties. But in other news, we have Joe Rogan leaving YouTube for another platform called Spotify, where he has signed a multi-year deal reportedly worth over $100 million. That brings me to today's guest, MMA fighter Nick Patterson. Hi Nick, welcome to the show. Now, you came under police detection simply for exercising at the gym. This is a complete abuse of power. How are you managing now at present?
I'm still running my gym. I've lost most of my members. I lost about 90% of the business, and then I started to build it up a little bit. And then the police came and harassed me, and then that I'm obviously scared. The ones that I had there already. So now I'll be back to about 10%. I went up to probably about 20%, but I lost about half of them, back to 10%. But I know of quite a few people that have closed their gyms down permanently through this whole COVID rubbish. So if I don't keep my foot in it, door open, I worry that would happen to me, and that's our primary source of making a living. We don't have any other way of making a living. So that's pretty important that I keep doing what I'm doing, and that way the gym's still running. So then when I get people coming back, everything, it's not like I'm starting from scratch again. And it's easier to keep a good relationship with the landlord, because I'm able to give him some money as well.
Yeah. But yeah, it's devastating to see good members of the public fall under financial pressure due to the quarantine and COVID restrictions. You're providing a very valuable service to the public, martial arts training and physical fitness, and to have you impacted like this, it's absolutely shocking. Now, you uploaded a video detailing the harassment. What sort of support have you received from the public?
Look, mostly, when I first loaded the video up, and the second video, only a couple of days later, most of the people were saying, "Good on you, Nick, well done." But there were some that were, they're just haters. They don't like that you're doing something that, it's against their beliefs. So I had some people that don't agree with me that were still saying, "Good on you, Nick, for standing up for what you believe in." And that's how I think it should be. If you don't agree with someone, that's fine. But you don't have to agree with someone to still respect them. There's this sort of, I don't know if it's just the psyche of the people today. It's very very divided. It's that divide and conquer, So if you don't agree with me on this, then you're my enemy. But we're not really. We all have disagreements and things. Then after that, I was at a protest, and I was arrested there, and the mainstream media narrative was a work of fiction, and so I got a little bit of hate from that as well, and I think the power of the media over people's minds is our biggest challenge. If I was to close my gym, I wouldn't have had any money to live and feed my family, and even with, I did apply for Centrelink, and I did receive some money, but it took about 5 weeks before I got any money. So I didn't have money in the bank just to have, to survive for 5 weeks with my family. So basically the effects of the actions of the government against me, if I had followed their policies, I would have had to have begged 5 weeks and asked people for money. and that's not right. No one should be put in that situation ever.
That's right. Very upsetting circumstances. And with your livelihood impacted and all the stress that you've been put under, you felt compelled to speak out about the corruption that we're experiencing, did you, Nick?
Yep. You know, I didn't plan those videos. It was more for my safety, and to be able to evidence, you know, their claims against me and any inconsistency in their application of the law. So we've filmed these videos when the police have come to harass us, and then we thought we could make them into these really good educational videos, especially the second one where there's the 22 police officers were able to, you know, just put little captions down the bottom explaining why I was saying certain things and the purpose behind asking questions, accepting their claim on conditions. And I'm not sure, you know, if you're aware of conditional acceptance, but basically what it is, you know, they make a claim against you, and you say, well, I'm happy to accept your claim on the provision you provide some evidence to verify it. And now, because they're the ones making a claim against you, they bear the burden of proof. That's the maxim of law is he who makes a claim beareth the burden of proof. So, you know, if they didn't have to bear the burden of proof, then essentially it would be where we're guilty until proven innocent, which I don't believe that's how our system's meant to operate.
That's right. And it was stated in the video, instead of dealing with serious crime, they're harassing members of the public. It appears they're just doing the dirty work of the government, and they have no overall concern about the welfare of the community. That's how it comes across, doesn't it?
You can see there was a number of people that were just at the protest just recently that were grabbed, and they were, one of the guys, a mate of mine, Craig, he was arrested. He was assaulted by the police. He was put in cable ties. They didn't handcuff him. They cable tied him. Then they dropped him off at the police station, you know, a couple of blocks away, and they didn't actually formally arrest him. So they've broken all of their procedures. There was another guy at the protest. He was arrested for nothing. There was that woman in Sydney who had a 5-year-old taken off her, and it was over a name, you know. Give us your name or else we're going to hurt you. Effectively, that's what it is. And there's people that see that and think that she's bad, that the woman was bad in that situation. That lady Renee in Sydney, you know, she just didn't want to give her name because she knew she didn't have to. But they created a controversy, and they ended up really harassing her and causing her son to, you know, he's been affected greatly, and they don't care. They think that what they've done is right. We're doing the right thing, law and order, but it's not order in the way that it should be. They're using force and fear to order us. But, so we're not a free people if we're under force and fear.
That's exactly what's happening. Very well said. And have you received any further correspondence from law enforcement, fines, or any unusual visits?
They came back again a third time, and they only stayed for about 2 minutes, and I just, they said, why aren't you following the COVID stuff? They didn't say directives, they said stuff. And I said, what's the COVID stuff? And they said, you know, I've been here 2 times before. And I said, oh, that's not valid. That's why I'm not following it. And then they took off and they drove off pretty quick. And I did receive a fine, but the fines are really easy to deal with, so that's not an issue. Because they're completely invalid. All you got to do, you could write a letter to the commissioner and asking them the question, you know, doing the conditional acceptance, asking them, well, I think you've made a mistake. Why have I received a fine from this entity, which is a body corporate, based on an internal rule, which is in direct opposition to, the higher jurisdiction?
Yeah.
And so I received that. I had they said it was the council. I got a phone call from they might have been police saying that with the council, because the police do lie. They lie to get information. So they might have been the police, but they rang up and they were asking about my gym. They're asking me making claims against me like, oh, you live at the gym. And I said, no, I don't live at the gym. I used to live at the gym. I don't live there anymore. And they said, well, and the only reason I said that was because I know that the council did know that I lived at the gym. So I wasn't going to lie. Said, no, I don't live there anymore. And then they said, oh, you need to get a permit for your business. Now, I've been there for 10 years, and you don't actually need a permit to do what I'm doing. Unless I'm using public land, like the footy oval, local footy oval, public reserve, and I don't need it. So it's like they're trying to set me up somehow. I had 3 police cars follow me into the shopping centre the other day, and they gave me a hard time as well, and they were laughing at me while they did it. So, they definitely upset some people. And I know what side I'm on, you've got to be willing to sacrifice and lose some of your status and standing to I think, to be able to evidence your claim, because your life becomes the evidence, becomes the affidavit. And some people are going to hate you. But it is what it is, and it tests your mental fortitude and your integrity.
And you deserve to be praised and rewarded for not complying with these tyrannical laws. You shouldn't have to look over your shoulder and have your privacy breached, being monitored by police, being stalked and harassed. This is not how the public should be treated. And it's counterproductive for a society to want to quarantine everyone in their homes, and that sets everyone back. And you should be focusing on your training, your fitness, preparing for upcoming fights. You shouldn't have to worry about all this outrageous, negative, totalitarian laws. It's completely unnecessary, isn't it?
It is totalitarian, and they've been pushing this agenda for a long time. I mean, that's why you see the all the memes on Facebook and of Dan Andrews, Kim Jong Andrews, and our glorious leader, because that's what it has become. Like at that protest in Melbourne, it's interesting because the police were on fire. They were just grabbing people and dragging them off. And I know a bloke that actually used to be a police officer, and he quit years ago, and he actually worked for the same unit, and he told me how they operate. He said that unit that breaks up the protests, he explained to me in some detail how they operate, and they set people up. So you would imagine the police don't work for us, right? They're meant to, but they don't. That's a big lie. So they work for the government corporation. So if you've got people on the microphone at a protest saying that Dan Andrews is a criminal, here's the evidence, and we're going to share the evidence with anyone who wants a copy of it, you can imagine Dan Andrews is on the phone to the command saying, stop this now, stop this, break up this protest now. Yeah. Okay, because that's what it is. It's a Gestapo. We're dealing with a Gestapo. When the police come up to you and say you have to give us your name because of a directive that comes from the UN that's unelected, even though the law says that we can't, you don't have to give us your name. And they're willing to go raise to the point of arresting you and separating you from your 4-year-old child. That is pure evil. That's like Nazism. That's or any other form of that. Stalin's Russia. So we're entering into this same. It's the same pattern, but I think they're just smarter at how they do it now.
Yeah. Yes, they've got every base covered as well. Sending in agent provocateurs is a game plan they like to use. They are disguised as protesters, but then they incite violence, create division, and then that's when you see the police act on that. So they cover it from both sides. Very deceptive practices they're using now, aren't they?
Well, actually, the woman that I went to assist at the protest, she was. I was just looking, you're just staring, and it's like you don't even realize what you're looking at sometimes. Mm-hmm. And I'm just staring in a particular direction. There's a woman there and a police officer, and the police officer snatches her flag off her, and she turned around, and then they used force. They just grabbed her really quite rough, and they started to drag her off. So I've gone up to the police. I've said, hey, she's done nothing wrong, right? I'm exercising my rights that are in Section 24F of the Crimes Act. I think they've been moved from there to the Criminal Code Act, but I referenced the Crimes Act because that's the act that was actually under the correct crown, and I have the right to point out deficiencies or inconsistencies with the actions of or policies or councils of any government body or entity, and to seek to change them. And I'm trying to change it up because they've done the wrong thing. And then all these other police have swarmed in who wouldn't have even seen what had happened. But I saw what happened. And I said, no, it's an unlawful arrest. But she hasn't done anything wrong. You've got to let her go. She's done nothing wrong. And then the police just used force on me, and they big hand into my chest really hard. Then I go back up and I grabbed the guy's shoulder. And then it became very violent. I got punched in the face. Then the media said that I actually punched the police officer, but it's the other way around, right? But the woman that was grabbed, we've had a bunch of people tell us that she's one of those agent provocateurs that which would then make sense. And I just realised, I think about it, I think, I was set up, and I didn't even know. They were appealing to my good nature to go and defend somebody, but it was a trap. And that's what I think has happened in that situation.
Yeah, they like to twist the story, fill it with lies, embellish facts, and they would have loved it if you had been violent. They would have used that against you, and if you were, you probably would have been able to take out about 3 of them with your martial arts training. So they're very lucky that you didn't. And it's just so out of character, for them to say that you would have done that when, all martial arts, it's about self-discipline and controlling yourself, isn't it?
Yeah, and I, there was no violence in me, and it was trying to help this lady who I believe was being falsely arrested for nothing, and it just looked like the police were just attacking our group. What are you attacking our group for? And the police officer I was speaking to that pushed me, he didn't see what had happened. He wasn't the one that grabbed her. He was on the side, and it was just like this. It's interesting. If somebody did the wrong thing in a group of civilian population, they did something wrong, and then some other people didn't see how it started, and they got involved and they assisted whatever criminal action it was without knowing, they would be liable as well. Okay, for the actions. Yet for police, it seems to be different. One police officer can do the wrong thing, and the rest were just following orders. Well, no, we just saw, we're just following the chain of command, and that seems to be a defence for them. And it didn't work for the Nazis, right? But for some reason, it does work in a court to some degree for the police.
Yes, it completely violates our rights, what's happening now, and the mortality rate is less than 1%. So the measures are being taken really preposterous. It's ludicrous. And the police brutality being thrown in, it's enough to make your blood boil, isn't it?
It's like when they started bringing in hate speech, and people would say, oh, well, we should have freedom of speech, but not complete freedom of speech. And it's like, well, if you don't have complete freedom of speech, you don't have freedom of speech, because they have the ability to restrict certain speech, which means you don't have freedom of speech. You're limited, right? And it's the same thing. You've got the right to protest, but you can't protest about certain things. Because if you protest about certain things, then we're gonna arrest you, falsely. And it's interesting because the people above that are running that are in control of the police, who are aware, they're more aware, they have more knowledge, they're more accountable. They don't care about the police officers getting sued, because the police officers will be sued for this and for similar things that they're doing. They can be sued, and they will be, and they are sued. But it's not as though the command of the police force care. They just throw them under the bus as well. So there's this empathy I have for them, knowing that some police officers are really good blokes. They're under mind control, though. They believe that it's okay to treat people such a way under in specific circumstances that are completely against our anything that's conscionable. It's because of the programming they go through, and probably the culture that's in their force.
Absolutely. A lot of them are compromised as well, and the higher up they get, they're involved in secret societies. The corruption is rampant. They're covering for each other's crimes, and all the information, they got the media controlled, so they just twist the narrative, and all the information they're pushing.
No question, there's a lot of police involved in pedophilia. I was involved in a group called, actually myself, a woman named Fiona Barnett. I don't know if you know her.
I've had her
And, another, yeah. So we started what was called Project Millstone, which we started that quite a while ago. But we we were getting people sending us information from all over the country at one stage, and they a lot of it was to do with there's one particular police station in not far from where I live, and there was two people that both told me the exact same thing that don't know each other about that police station with the police abusing kids, and so it's obvious that it does happen. I mean, I used to be in the Liberal Party, believe it or not, as a delegate. I actually I ran a policy motion through the Liberal Party State Council to open up child abuse cases that implicated politicians. And and the bloke at that was at the front was yelling and screaming at me to get out and calling security to kick me out. And then all these people that were in the assembly there were yelling at me as well. And they got security to get me out for trying to run a policy motion through. I had the policy motion on the agenda, but they were taking up all the time with things that aren't really very important, just technical things. And if you don't debate a policy motion, it won't become policy. It needs to be debated. So I said, it's imperative that we debate this motion because, and then they started yelling at me, and it was just amazing. I realised, okay, that's where the border is. That's where I can't go past that point. That's where they've got to stop me. And obviously, I'm not a member of that party anymore because I've realised what it is. Yeah.
So you're well aware of the corruption, the satanic ritual abuse, the pedophiles in government. And so when this New World Order hit and the quarantine and the new measures, it wouldn't have come as a complete surprise.
No, you knew it was coming, but what surprised me is how many people actually fell for this thing. I was amazed at that there was not more of a fight. I thought that we had a little bit more, strength of character. But we can obtain that by just starting to fight back and saying to learn what our rights are. It's obvious that 100 people have died from this disease apparently, right? Allegedly, 100 people when about 2,000 people in a flu season die in this country, right? So it doesn't. Anyone just has to look at those numbers and go, okay, something's happened here. Something's amiss. I don't know if you saw I think it was the Tanzanian president, and he sent some samples from a goat and a
bull. Right? Yeah. Yes.
And that turned out positive for coronavirus.
That's right.
So there's so much information there that you can look at and go, no, it's a lie. They're lying to us. I don't know what the lie is, but they're definitely lying to us. That's what I said to the police when they first came, and the second time they came. I said, I don't trust the government because they should be known by their acts and action. And their acts, government's acts, are always lying. Their actions are always deceptive. And I'm not saying everyone in government's a liar and a deceiver, but there's a lot of what they do is deception.
Exactly.
Just look at what they've done to it. They've even created a new crown that's not valid without asking the people to create a new crown, and it was outside of the parameters, prescribed in our constitution. They created this new crown so that they weren't happy with the powers that they had to create laws. So they had to then find another way to assent to laws that were in direct opposition to our constitution, and that's why they created this Queen of Australia, which isn't a real crown, it's not a de jure crown. And that's what's going on. I mean, that's a huge theft. And, like I shared in that other video, the Statute Law Revision Act 1973, where they actually is an act where they remove the words Commonwealth from every act.
Excellent analysis. Absolutely, that's what's happening. The entire government is invalid, and they're operating in treason, aren't they?
Yep, exactly what they are. Yep.
Yeah, and all the information that's being pushed through, it's all false and just designed to brainwash people. the masks that people are wearing are weakening their immune system. They're breathing back in their own toxins. If you can't trust them to deliver proper information that's going to assist people in their health, then you can't trust them for anything. And the vaccines that they're pushing, that's a very frightening prospect. They're trying to bombard everyone with COVID-19 vaccine propaganda. What's your thoughts on this?
Well, this is the thing. Like, obviously, the legislation only applies to persons. Any internal rule or law only applies to persons, entities. It doesn't apply to men and women. So the legal definitions for person, citizen, they're all corporate entities. They're not living. They're fictions, right? So these rules don't really apply to us without our consent. We can consent to them, but without our consent, and they have ways of obtaining our consent. Did you vote? Well, if you voted, you were you consented. Did you I'll say, do you have a bank account? Oh, there you go. That's a person, a persona that's on there. That's why the name's written in capital letters. But do you have a driver's license? You're a driver. Well, a driver's a person as well, which is a corporate entity. So they do things like that. But you are coerced into it as well, because if you didn't have a driver's license, you would be harassed by the police. That's their job, is to cause fear to make you acquiesce your rights. I've worked it out. That's exactly what the whole thing is, right? Fear, and as a biblical man, fear, I know fear to be the operating system for the enemy. If they fill us with fear, we will create their fearful reality. It fears in our mind because it overcomes what's true and right. This is true because we've told you, and if you don't go along with it, whether you believe it or not, if you do go along with it, you are confirming that is right. Because the way it works is the maxims of commercial law, truth is expressed in the form of an affidavit or claim. So they make a claim, and an unrebutted claim stands as truth. If you don't rebut the claim because of your fear, you agree with it. Silence is consent. That's biblical as well. Your silence is consent. We're obliged to speak up and to act. And if you don't, and you just go along with it, you are part of the problem.
Absolutely. It's fear-based mind control, and it's very overwhelming. The new normal, they keep saying all these terms, very Orwellian, newspeak language, the reopening instructions for schools. They're training the children to be robots now, aren't they? How do you feel being a parent in this world while this is unfolding?
Well, we homeschool our little ones because of it. I became aware. There's a woman who wrote a book called The Deliberate Dumbing Down of America, and that sort of put me onto the education system. And her name was Charlotte Isaby, and she teaches about how, I think 1973 or 74, they implemented the communist education system in the USA, and obviously we followed the same suit. And I just wanted my little ones to especially all the immoral talk and chatter that they would get at school as well. And because we are morally deficient now, a lot of these kids are coming out of homes that are severely damaged or broken, and the values aren't there. So I don't want them to be around kids that have different values that I believe in, my wife, and then that impacts them. So we took them out of school and we homeschool, and it's not easy. It's actually a real struggle sometimes too, but we're looking at the long-term results. We could have that time and just enjoy our lives, but we're trying to be like Jesus said, that he who is great be the servant. We're trying to serve these little ones and give them a better education, by teaching them how to think for themselves and how and not filling their minds with immoral behaviour and just silliness, but helping them to be more sober-minded. And maybe I sound a bit, a a bit ridiculous to think like that, but they're my boys and my girl, and I care about them.
Yeah, it's understandable. At least you have peace of mind knowing that you can keep a watchful eye over them and they're not going to fall victim to the system. There's some of the predatory behaviour that's being implemented in schools. It's something that all parents should be concerned about, shouldn't they?
Yeah. I mean, some of the stuff that they're teaching in the schools now is just, it's vile too. The sexualization of the kids in the schools is really bad. That was one. That was why I got involved with the Liberal Party, because I knew people that were doing things within that party, and I just got involved with them. But we had absolutely no result. I mean, I can tell you one thing: is there's a bloke named Gary Dowsett. I don't know if you've heard of him. He was the guy that came up with the Safe Schools program for that sexualizing of the kids in the school. He's actually a convicted pedophile, but people don't know that. He's a convicted pedophile, and he's and when I say that, I mean he's actually a convicted pedophile. And nothing happened to him. He's never lost his status and standing in the community. Another bloke that he was working with, back in the day, he was a Bond University professor. I think his name might have been Paul Wilson. I might be wrong, but he went to jail for pedophilia as well. And they were both teaching about pedophilia being okay. Just another sexual orientation. These are the people that are involved in our school education.
Exactly.
People that are convicted pedophiles are the ones teaching our kids about sex. That's not right. No way.
It's a horrific prospect. Yeah.
And the Labor Party's aware of it. They know, yet they're still employing them. They were still employing the bloke, at the time. So I just think that we need maybe we need a little bit more of the population to be aware, and then we just need to direct everyone to how we can take action and actually do something about it. I think those suppression orders are probably one of the most important things for our to open up and have a look at and expose, because that's how they protect these predators, and they keep them in their positions. So they abuse and they do terrible things to little ones, and then their cases, they maybe get convicted and they get a 3-month prison, not even prison sentence, it might be a home arrest, and it's put on a suppression order, and nobody can speak about it. No one knows about it, and then they continue doing what they're doing in that high position that they had before and continue to abuse people.
Yeah, unfortunately, that is exactly what's happening. The system is designed to protect pedophiles. That's how come they keep operating. And it's a common pattern. Wherever children are, there's these sex offenders seeking employment and congregating around. You look at the Disney Channel, all through children's entertainment. It's rampant, and
I actually was at the gym the other day, and I showed one of the girls that trains there. She was talking about her daughter's favourite cartoon was a Disney one. I went, Disney? You don't know about Disney? And I started to show her the subliminals in there, and she's like, "Oh, she can't watch Disney because of it." She's shocked at it, but they have been, and it's not, this is the thing. It's not just that these people are into abusing kids. It's satanic stuff. It's Luciferian stuff that they're into, and they're doing the opposite of what someone that would follow the Bible does. Someone that follows the Bible would go, I'm going to overcome the animal part of me, and I'm going to overcome it. I'm going to go to a higher consciousness. I'm going to be selfless. I'm going to give of myself to help others, and I'm going to sacrifice what I have for the good of others. Instead, these people do the opposite. They go all the way in the opposite direction, to the upside down world, and then they abuse people, which goes against their conscience, completely against the conscience. They do the opposite, and they do it as a ritual, which obviously opens them up to, I don't know, how, but it obviously opens them up to maybe the spiritual side, some some sort of connection to the things that we don't see, but they end up in positions of power and they wield a lot of power over people. And all of these people that wield power over people in this world are all use fear as the mechanism. They don't use faith and a sound mind. They use the opposite. They use fear. And people are scared. And when the police came to my place the first time, everybody in the gym bar won, and my friend that filmed that first encounter all ran out of the back of the gym out of fear. Mm-hmm. So people are scared of the police. They have fear. They and fear is a type of worship. If you fear something, you honor it. But we shouldn't be giving people. I mean, biblically, fear is not of God. We're not meant to fear. And I just quote the Bible a lot because I read a lot. I'm not a church guy though. I don't go to church. I just read it a lot. I think I just think it's the greatest book. I think it's got the most truth. But fear is that just showed how many of these people are overcome by fear. They had this bash on the door, open up, it's police, and then they just run in fear. And I was like, what? Why did you all run? At least stand up. You might have a bit of fear, but at least stand up and support me. So I went out with my friend, and we went to battle, and that's what it was, a battle of words, which they ended up away, and
very brave actions, and more people need to take a stance, because a lot of the law enforcement officers, they get off on instilling panic and fear into people. It's a power trip, and they draw in dark energy of it. And panic and uncertainty, they thrive off that. And if we all stand and band together, keep turning up at these protests, making our point known that we will not stand for this. Forced vaccinations, quarantine. We will not be prisoners in our own home anymore, will we?
No, and because dominion was given to you, and you have the capacity to make choices. They're trying to take that away from you, because man and woman was given the power to make choices and have dominion, but a person doesn't, because a person is a creation of the state. So the state, corporate entity that owns the definition of those other words, citizen, resident, they own it. So they're God over it. That's what they are. Whereas if we're, but the actual God was the one that gave us the dominion. But we have to realise that and know what our words mean. If we don't know what our words mean, and I don't know what a lot of my words mean because I've been educated in a public school system, so I don't know, but I'm learning. I'm making the effort. I'm being proactive. So and I'd never say that I'm an authority on anything to do with literature. I'm not. I read a bit. But I'm making the effort to learn what's true, and I'm prayerful about it, and I ask for help to know. And you do get people come into your life that teach you. I've got a friend Mark who's been able to teach me heaps of things about how conditional acceptance works and how to commerce works. I've got a friend Darren he's got all these clever ways of communicating using different acts, using their own source of authority against them, whether it's police or court or the ATO. So you get these people. There's another guy in the US I speak to quite a bit. He's got a channel called The Big Sib, and I tell you, he's amazing at showing how commercial liability works from a biblical perspective. And once I started to connect it, because I knew the Bible quite well, I already know a lot of this stuff. I didn't really understand that's what it was saying. I read these verses. I didn't understand the commercial side of the meanings. Yeah. So you get blessed if you're doing the right things and you're trying to walk in the light. You get given things. You get blessed for it. If you go the other way, you get cursed. But their curses, which would be their powerful positions, is actually a curse. They think is a blessing. They're deceived as well. They think that we're in power, we're doing it right. No, you're not. You're not, because all your substance and all the things that you've got in this world. You know what? When you die, it's gone, and it's not going to make you happy anyway. Stuff doesn't make you happy, especially if you know within yourself that you've chosen to go against your conscience. You've sold your soul. You don't have a soul anymore, or you don't have much of a soul. I don't want to lose my soul for some stuff. I'd rather, I'd relinquish the stuff to gain something that's meaningful.
That's a very decent approach and a wonderful attitude to have. We need more people like yourself, stand-up guys in the community, people that are fearless and their heart's in the right place, looking after others, because they don't want that. They want a bunch of feminine people that can't defend the country, that are willing to bow down and just take orders. They want mind-controlled slaves and, people that are just dumbed down on that level. I hope you plan on continuing your mission and exposing evil.
That's what that's been put on my heart from above. So I can't go against what he puts on my heart, and he makes us who we are. So I'll continue to do what I'm doing, and if I get called to do, to just go away into the country somewhere with my family to maybe that's what I'll do. I don't know, but I didn't choose to be at war with the police. They came to me. So, I was just defending myself. Their actions were against me, and they didn't evidence, that they didn't provide any evidence for their actions. I was able to evidence that their actions were invalid. So, I wouldn't have been doing this if it didn't come into my sphere. They knocked on my door. They ruined my business. They threatened me. They've sent fines to me. They've followed me into the car parks. They've arrested me at a protest. They've got the council ringing me up. Okay, well then, the first action was from the police, so I'm just reacting and defending myself. And I think that's honourable for someone to defend themselves, especially when you know that it's wrong.
Yeah, and you're doing a fine job of that. We need more people from the martial arts community stepping forward and being a powerful force to be reckoned with when it comes to these matters. Now, you must watch a lot of UFC. What are your thoughts on Joe Rogan? He's leaving his podcast on YouTube to go to Spotify. People used to look up to him a lot, didn't they?
Yeah. Look, I don't follow him. I've seen a few things. I don't follow him because, you have the people that you like to follow. Like I follow the Big Sig. I follow all of his team because of the biblical nature of what he teaches. And I just know that resonates with me. A lot of Joe Rogan's, his podcasts don't resonate with me. So, not that I'm saying anything bad about him, it doesn't. But UFC, I don't really watch the UFC anymore. I'm not that passionate about fighting as a sport. I'm more passionate about fighting the good fight and helping people. And I like my job. So my job as a fight coach, I understand it because I had 39 professional fights, but I enjoy being around people, and it's not a job that I hate. I get to be with people, get to help them to achieve something, to build up confidence, and you can teach them. You can teach them a different way of thinking too while you've got time with them, serving them. So so I don't really have much of an opinion on both of those things, UFC or Joe Rogan. Not much I can really say on Joe Rogan, actually.
Well, look, you've done a fantastic job. I hope all the pressure's taken off and you're able to go back to somewhat of a normal lifestyle, free of police and unwanted attention. And I'm sure the majority of them, if they ever step foot in the cage with you, they wouldn't last one round.
Well, that would be the easy way, wouldn't it? I mean, that was the way they used to do it. The two armies would come, the two different powers. And I think that's what it is. We've got the Victorian government in all capital letters, and you've got the Victorian government with the title case. They're totally different. All right? So we would be the Victoria with a capital V, lowercase letters, and they're the Victoria with the all capitals. We should just get our best warrior from each side to go and battle and see. We'll see who wins.
Yeah.
Don't get the whole army fighting. Just get your best warrior, and we'll get our best warrior. We'll duke it out, and whoever's left, he who endures to the end shall be saved. Or, in other words, the commercial maxim is, he who leaves the battlefield first loses by default.
Yes, yeah, that might be a strategy worth considering. Well, you're welcome back on the show anytime, and I wish you all the very best. And thank you for all your tremendous work, helping people and encouraging such a wonderful art. Thank you.
Thank you kindly. I really appreciate it. Bye-bye.
Well, that does it for today's show. Stay safe, everybody. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe. And I'll catch you on the next episode where we expose corruption one show at a time.